Hello and welcome. It is All for United. We are back. It feels like absolutely ages since we were discovering and discussing the last draw that we've managed to have. But as you can see, we have once again assembled a lovely little panel to have a little bit of a topic show. We don't get the chance to do this so often when we have these games in midweek. So we thought it'd be a nice idea to just get a few of the gang together and have a little conversation about the state of affairs that Manchester United are in. Andrew Wall was just finished having a break and a Kit Kat, and he is ready to go. He is fully fueled up and ready to chat. How are you doing down there, sir?
Yeah, I'm all good. It's been coming down after the high of the weekend. Well, especially on the women's side, reaching the FA Cup final. So made up for the disappointment, the draw against Bournemouth with the men's side. But yeah, I'm watching Man City lose last night. It was just a daddy bonus last night. They're not going to be winning another treble again. Well, not this season.
For sure. I mean, that was quite something, wasn't it? The United-Chelsea women's game just... the gift that keeps on giving in terms of feelings for that one. And yes, City going out. All we can hope for now is that Atlanta can do the same thing to Liverpool. And it's a full-on Lowzioli sort of week, isn't it? Which would be great. And you will notice, if you are a regular on this channel, that we have someone who is not a regular on this channel. Somebody new who we've managed to drag in from off the streets. Let's see if he knows how to unmute. Let's see how we get on. It's Matt over there to my right. How you doing, sir?
Yes, all good. All good. It's been a crazy few days. Ever since Sunday, really. It's just been a buzz. A very big buzz. But yeah, great to be in. Thanks very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely delighted that we could get you on, Matt. So great news. Always nice to see new blood and people coming in. It's good to get the opinions changed up. So that's all grand. Golden Gamer sat here saying he can't wait for Sunday. Hopefully we can join the women's team at Wembley for an FA Cup final. Absolutely, it would be superb. And Ala Madrid, good evening all. Hello, Mr. Commode. Lovely to have you with us as ever. So if you are currently in the chat, it would be lovely if you could like and subscribe if you haven't already. And that would be superb. We always appreciate it. Hello, NT. Good to see you. So what are we here to talk about today? Well, obviously Man United, because that's kind of the vibe of the channel. But I've been thinking about this for ages, boys. Like, it really has been just gnawing away at my head. And I thought, you know what? This week is the week where we're going to sort of unbox the dragon and just sort of see. Because I kind of want to go down the attitude route. Because there's a plethora of different attitudes. There's the player attitudes, and of course there's the fans' attitudes. And I'm just intrigued at the moment as to what people are thinking. Now, I'm just going to list out some names of some people. For example, Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony Martial, Casemiro, Eric Ten Hag. Now, I would argue that every single one of those people that I've just mentioned, perhaps with the exception of Sancho and possibly Maguire, but I'm not convinced about the Maguire one, I think he has been, was given a positive review at some point in their career at Manchester United. I can remember Maguire being, contrary to popular opinion, unavailable for the Europa League final, and that being the end of the world. I can remember Marcus Rashford scoring 30 goals only last season and doing incredibly well. I can remember Garnacho being the next big thing. I can remember Sancho being potentially an important part of the puzzle. Anthony was always a bit unsure. I'll give people that one. Anthony Martial, 50 million down the drain when it didn't feel like it, when he was banging goals in against the Scousers, but then all of a sudden, injuries. Casemiro last season was like the second coming, and now this season he's like, a lame donkey of some sorts, people seem to describe him as. And of course, Ten Hag was the Messiah last season, but this season, some people are getting into negative positions with him. So I kind of just want to start with a couple of those people. So let's take a look at, for example, Marcus Rashford. We know he's got ability. Where do we stand with this? Because people talk about the attitude on the pitch that Marcus Rashford shows. And what I've noticed of some of the people on the front line is that actually the jogging around on the pitch isn't just him. There are others. I saw Højlund doing it in one of the other games. And actually, is that something that Ten Hag's asking them to do? So Rashford's one, Maguire's another, and Anthony I'm going to give you on that one as well. So looking at those three, talk to me a little bit about their attitudes and just the general attitudes of the players in general there, and whether or not you think it's fair, some of the pelters, I suppose, that have been thrown their way. Andrew, I'll let you kick off on this one.
On Marcus, well, we've had this sort of debate before with Marcus. Where's it gone wrong? Where's it gone right? And it's like last season, he was firing on all cylinders, and this season it seems to be a bit of a downturn again. I'm just like, yeah, it's just. I know Marcus gave that interview, was it a couple of months ago, saying about don't question my commitment to United. I'm giving everything on the pitch as well. So it's just with Marcus, it's a frustrating thing. We know what he's capable of doing, and to say, you're just thinking, well, where's his best position lie? Is it? Because sometimes he has played through the middle. Sometimes, mostly, it's been on the left, and I think that's where he's best suited, is on the left. So I think it's going to be an interesting summer at United. With Marcus especially, just like. There's the rumour PSG is circling again. Well, there were once before, and that was like, is that going to resurface again? Is he going to be tempted by a move away? So does he feel like he needs to move away as well? So I'd just say with this season, it's just not been quite, as at it. Okay, there's been the off the field issues, which has been all dealt with. So, and let's say he's entitled to his own private life like any other football player is. Just when players go out and it's all reported, then it just gets. Obviously, with United, everything gets amplified 100 times over. So, and plus, he's still got to deal with us, until 2028. So, yeah, I'm just thinking if any club coming in is, what's likely going to be the transfer fee and also the wages. Somebody's going to be willing to pay for Marcus, but. Like I say, Marcus he's one of our own, and say he's come through all the way through from a young age and through to the first team as well. So it's just like you almost like sad to see him go if he ever left as well. So, but I think with players sometimes they have some downturns in their season and they just come back again. So yeah, it'll be interesting with one for Marcus. Harry Maguire, well. I thought he would have gone in the summer because, I just thought for his own mind's sake, some of the abuse he was getting on social media as well. I'm just thinking he could have, out of 38 Premier League games, he'd have 37 brilliant games and he could make one mistake in the final game and it'd just be everyone's up, going for him saying he's no good. But, I mean, at the start of the season, he just knuckled down. He didn't complain. He just I'm going to work my way back in, waiting for his opportunity. And when he did, he's putting in like man of the match performances in each time as well. So just unfortunate he got injured when he did, like most of our defenders did. So I applaud Harry Maguire. So I think we said the other week, do we see Harry Maguire staying beyond the summer? I think so. I think there's going to be other defenders that will make way before him, and so with Harry, just like I think I don't want to say having the captaincy taken off him is probably the right thing in the end because you just let him focus on him being just go out there and play. So I just think the next best person to give the captaincy was Bruno. So I know we've had that debate, about Bruno and his captaincy. So if he's not the right one, who do you give it to? So I remember I saying I'd give it back to Maguire, but say Maguire's done excellent since this season. I think it's really knocked down. So especially we're going to be needing him for the last couple of weeks of the season as well, especially against playing alongside Willie Camwala as well. So yeah, I'm hoping whether Harry Maguire remains a first team player next season or just a squad. It depends who goes and who gets brought in as well. So be interesting to see.
It will be. I mean, you're not wrong on that one. I mean, it's one of those really interesting ones, Matt, because we look at Rashford and Maguire, and as some people have put in here, NC saying regarding Rashford, I think the only person who knows what's happening with him is himself, maybe a couple of people at the club if he's spoken to anyone. John Commode saying if we want to play high pressing football, I just don't think Rashford suits that. Personally, think it'd be good for everyone if he left and we all got a fresh start. Meanwhile, Dan, of course, saying if every player had Maguire's mentality, which he's put in double capital letters, so he's trademarking that, obviously, we would be challenging for the league. Now, Andrew brings up a really big point there for me. Harry Maguire, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the attitudes of people and the attitudes of fans. This guy, I say this every time I talk about Harry Maguire, but this guy got a picture put out on Instagram of him getting married on his wedding day, and he still couldn't escape people going on there and calling him names and having a go at him and telling him he's the worst captain that United have ever had, all of these sorts of things. Marcus Rashford misses a penalty for England by literally a few inches, hitting the post, and he's subject to all sorts of racist abuse as well. Not necessarily from United fans, we do have to be clear on that. But the sort of attitude that comes back at some of these players, do the fans, do you think, have anything to shoulder in terms of the brunt of the way some of these players might be sometimes? Because Maguire's just seemed to have shaken it off. He's done his very best Taylor Swift. Marcus Rashford, not so much. He seems to be sort of struggling to find his equilibrium. So what do you reckon with regards to those two players, Rashford and Maguire, and the attitudes they've shown? Because Maguire has just come back and has led the line brilliantly, even though he's not a captain. Rashford, very up and down this season.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a tricky one, really. I can see it from both sides, a player and a fan perspective. I think with Rashford, I think it might be more of a personal issue. Also, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, family life. Also, we've seen things in the press. He's all over. People go to the shops, they're in the newspapers, this, that, and the other. There's always some sort of speculation going around the players. To be honest, I think Rashford, like Andrew said, it is a shame because he has got the ability. We know what he is capable of as a footballer. He's just not been right, probably. Last season was probably one of his better seasons. This season, he's been nowhere near the standards we expect from him as a player. Maguire, I think, because he gets picked for England quite a lot. I think he seems to get picked and plays at a high international level, regardless of his performances and how much he plays at club level. So I think expectations just off that alone are quite high from the fans. And again, I think personal criticism, I think some fans do take it a little bit too far sometimes, to be honest, especially on social media. And again, some players deal with it better than others. Rashford, like you say, doesn't seem to be taking it as well. Like I say, coming out doing interviews, try to defend himself, try to say that he's playing for the badge, this, that, and the other. But yeah, it is a tricky one, but I can see it from both sides, both perspectives. But yeah, sometimes it can get quite unfair, I think, personally.
Perfectly fair point. And I think that's the thing, it's separating the footballer almost from the person, and understanding that you can tell someone they're not being very good. We don't need to tell them, but you can tell the world that they've not had a great game. Yeah. But these guys know that. They're not silly, and they know what's going on. John responding again with, I think McTominay and Rashford, thank you for reminding me about McTominay, John. Cheers. Represent two issues with the squad. McTominay's not technically gifted, but gives his all. I mean, he's more technically gifted than me, that's for sure. Rashford has ability, but doesn't always give his all. And that's the team's problem. If we had loads of players that had McTominay's attitude with Rashford's ability, maybe we'd be world beaters. I completely get it. JJ saying here, attitude and mentality, a huge problem in the current crop of players. But I wonder if that's the same for fans. I really do. Like, we look at the day and age we're in, there's loads of fan cams out there, and fan cams get like dog's abuse for the way that these people are. You've only got look at people like AFTV, and the guy, Robbie, that runs that seems like a genuine, sensible kind of bloke. And then the people that he gets on are just larger than life, caricature, sort of people, and you find that on so many of the other ones. United Stand got their own different sort of characters. Stretford Paddock have their own different sort of characters and people, and you know what to expect. And it's the same with us at Wolf United. But I just find it really interesting. You look at the sort of people that follow. I won't name the podcast, but you look at the sort of people that follow them and the way they seem to really interact with the negativity when it arrives, when there's a chance to go on a witch hunt, for example, on a player, or if something bad has happened, how they can just sit there and say this person's rubbish, or Ten Hag out, Solskjaer out, Mourinho out. It's a consistent sort of message, and I just find it really, really interesting that's the level we've got to. I mean, I know it was quite toxic back in the 80s, when Fergie was one game away allegedly from being sacked. It was quite bad then. There was banners, Tara Fergie,
Well, that's the myth and the legend is, that Forest game in the FA Cup, Mark Robins, scoring, that goal and saved his job. I think Martin Edwards sort of debunked that myth and said he was never going to.
There were signs, weren't there?
But there were signs if we hadn't gone on a good run, and
physical signs.
It's like and playing Coventry this weekend, Mark Robins being the manager as well, former United player. So there's got a lot of ties with Coventry with Mark Robins as well. So it's going to be an interesting game on Sunday, and I just think. Just quickly on Marcus as well, another point, and just because Bastian Schweinsteiger was given an interview to Gary Neville today and talking about his time at United and saying he'd love to see Marcus, in a better team. I don't know I haven't watched all the interview, but whether he means a better United team or somewhere else. So just, yes, Rashford, he looks unhappy, but that was probably because of his form, and some pundits argue, it's the way his body language is, he's committed to the cause, just as Bastian said, he said, I'd love to see him in a better team when he gets, the balls at the right moment. Because I think he's saying in years past he didn't really see that. So I think he's saying if he plays in a different team, you might see a different level from him a bit more. So Marcus is definitely a player who can decide games as well. So I think he's, was it Alan Pardew said that on the radio the other week sometimes. And I thought, I'm not a big fan of Alan Pardew, but I thought, maybe I do agree with him at this point. Sometimes maybe Marcus, his mentality maybe switches off during games. Some games, just needs to keep alert all the time. So I'd have, some players could be like quiet the whole 90 minutes and then that one moment and injury time, and then they're deciding the key moments in the game. So you don't always have to have the most fantastic game as well. So, but I say with Marcus, yes, he struggled for form this season, and some performances, yes, they could be warranting criticism, and so, but then sometimes things that have been said may have crossed the line a little bit as well. So, yes, in Ten Hag's second season, United, can be characterised by a lack of goals, and it doesn't help that Marcus hasn't scored as many as he did as last season. So there's always a place for constructive criticism in football. So sometimes with players, sometimes you've got to put an arm around them, or sometimes just give them a bit of a kick up the backside. So like I say, we want a bit more. So it's but with Marcus, yes, it's a difficult period, but in some ways he's got to take responsibility for some decisions he made, but also on the team and Ten Hag as well. So it's
just really interesting because Dan's put on here, I find it interesting most fans you speak to want to sell the players with the right mentality over those who are world class, apparently, like Luke Shaw, obviously being the only world class player that we have at the club, as Tony once said. But I mean, JJ points out, these fan channels have invited some toxicity into fans. AFTV, United Stand have some very interesting characters. And Dan responding with, that's exactly it, characters. I think if you sit down in a private room with these people, their opinions don't always match what we see on the channels, and potentially clickbait. That could be interesting. But, NT's put this up, and I'm not going to shy away from the conversation, not because I'm sitting here hoping we can have some sort of Twitter beef with people, because I think it's a genuine conversation, and we're included in that with how we discuss these things and these matches and these people. So NT saying, regarding one of the channels you mentioned, did you see how after the last game the channel owner was tweeting about Ten Hag throwing Garnacho under the bus, and so many people lapped it up? And of course Dan responding again on that one, the certain person who's watch along also blamed Garnacho. And it's interesting because, I mean, Andrew, you've seen us. I don't know if you watched the women's channel, Matt, when we're on there, but
yeah,
there's some negativity in there. There has been. Anybody who watches that will know that I was Mary Earp's biggest fan last season, and this season I've been a little bit annoyed with her because of the way that she's been and the attitude that she's shown, and liking certain things on social media that I don't think were helpful. But I've maintained that. You know, in fact, it's got to the point where if I've said something nice about her, they know that she must have done really well. But it's not like I'm sitting there going, oh, Mary Earp's in, Mary Earp's out. You know, they know I want May Letitia to play right back. I haven't deviated from that just because Ethan Mannion's had a couple of good games. And it's the same thing here on these channels. I really do think they've got a responsibility to have the conversations by all means, but to just sort of be a bit careful with what it is that they're saying. By the way, hello, boss. How are you? Lovely to have you here. And it was where you said, JJ, this bit, was it JJ? No, NT, sorry, this bit here. We don't have to talk about it, but I just thought it was relevant to this whole fan player responsibility towards each other. And I think it is. And it takes us to the next group of players that I wanted to talk about, which was Jadon Sancho and Garnacho. And the reason why those two particularly were ones that I wanted to discuss here is that we all know what happened with Jadon Sancho. He came in, he was given a chance. It was a little bit of on and off when it came to playing on the pitch. He was given some time off. He came back. He was given another go. It all went a bit wrong. Ten Hag says something about his training. Sancho jumps onto social media saying he's being made a scapegoat. And then before you know it, he's back at Borussia Dortmund. Now, there's so many things, and this is the thing. It's hard to know what's real and what's fake. Is he up there every night, staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning, playing on Twitch and doing whatever it is that he's doing, and then he's turning up late for training? I don't know. But that's the narrative that gets fed around the player. And then as a result, people respond to that. They see that and go, well, in that case, what an absolute git this guy is. Don't want him at my club. Why doesn't he get to bed a bit early? He's a professional footballer. He's getting paid loads of money. And you can understand people having that point of view. But is it true? I don't know. Is the honest answer. You guys might. I don't. Now, the reason I bring that up is because obviously we had the Garnacho thing about Ten Hag throwing him under the bus. The simple fact of the matter is that Garnacho gives the ball away for the first goal. Yes, there's other things that happen beyond that, but Garnacho loses the ball in the midfield. He keeps hold of that ball. The goal doesn't happen. Now, that's not throwing him under the bus. That's just a fact. We all saw it with our own eyes. Who lost the ball? Alejandro Garnacho. Who slipped over? Cambuala. They're the people that you're going to put down. Did Onana save it? No, he didn't. So there's 3 people there you're going to name. They're just factual things. It doesn't mean you'll turn around and say, well, that's it, Onana's rubbish again. We're not saying never play Cambuala because he's only young and he's going to make mistakes. But Garnacho didn't seem to take it that way. And as a result, we end up on social media and now he's putting things out there, liking, again, certain tweets from fan channels. Now, as somebody who's on a fan channel, we've had women's players like tweets that we've set out, whether it be as a channel, whether it be as people on the channel. So these things do happen, and that's perfectly acceptable. They're usually positive. It's not when they're sitting there saying, "Oh, he's thrown him under the bus" or those sorts of things. So I'm just intrigued as to how we feel about this, because Garnacho, very differently to Sancho, is a bit more of a golden child. There's been pictures of him when he was with Mainu and with Højlund as being potentially like the new Trinity was the picture that was coming out and all those sorts of things. So now he's had a go at Ten Hag. Where do you two stand with that? Would you be in a situation where you're looking at Garnacho and you're thinking, actually, if he's going to be standing up against the manager like he is, he needs to go as well. Perhaps we're going to put him out on loan, get rid of him. It's a bad attitude. Or do you think people fall down on Garnacho's side because they see the value in the player and what he's done? And as a result of that, is that fair? What do you reckon, Matt?
Probably a bit of both, to be honest. I think with the Garnacho, he's still a really young player. He's still a prospect. So I think social media is becoming quite a big issue in football recently, to be honest. I think little things like that, they get picked up on and they get magnified quite a lot. undermining the manager, it is a bit of a sour point, especially for Ten Hag, considering he's under pressure already in his job as it is, and he's got players on his back. Social media, Sancho exactly the same. It does make the manager's job a hell of a lot harder, and I can understand the manager coming out and criticising him, basically, not in a nasty way, just being honest, saying what he sees on the pitch. But yeah, I think social media is not it's not the way forward, and it's definitely not helping United. Other clubs don't seem to have that issue. It only seems to ever be United. Whether that's just because of the club we are, I don't know. But everything's just magnified 1,000% when it comes to United. No matter who play, what player it is, it's one of them. Social media is just, for me, it's a bit of a curse for when it comes to footballers personally.
It's definitely not ideal. It's caused more problems than it's solved, that's for sure. JJ with an interesting tack here. He's going, a manager will never succeed here if players throw drops on social media and amplified by these fan channels. I mean, we're going to do it. I mean, we've kind of amplified it here. Not by much, it's not like we've got 750,000 people watching us every single week. Maybe if you guys shared it a bit more, we might. I'm joking. Get back in your box. It's fine. But I mean, it's a fair point. It does get amplified by social media, isn't it, Andrew? And as a result, it does sort of inflame the tensions. But as NT says, he didn't actually blame Garnacho for having to be subbed. He just said that he'd only trained the previous day, didn't blame him for the goal. People were acting like he blamed him that we drew the game. And apparently they had a talk the next day. Apparently, again, see, we don't know. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Who's told us? And they cleared the air. I just wish our players would stay away from social media on match days. And it's just like, you can understand people being angry. It's time for that moment. Hold on, I've just got to throw this in there. I just can't imagine this happening under Ferguson. Like, this guy turned up to Lee Sharp and Ryan Giggs and literally pulled them out of a party in front of all of their mates and said, sort your life out, get back home. You're meant to be professional footballers. I get the feeling if this happened under Fergie, I don't think they'd play again for the club. And I'm not trying to say that that's what we should do now. But when we start looking at how things were and how things are, it's very clear that what's the word I'm looking for here? The feelings and the opinions of the players are having much more weight now than they did 15 years ago under Alex Ferguson. Would you agree with that, Andrew? And how would you deal with the Sancho Garnacho situation?
So this is the way modern football is now. I'm just thinking, as you said, in Fergie's time, there's probably a few incidents you'll never even, like the Lee Sharp, I think that story's been told publicly, but there's probably many others that you've never even heard about the Fergie's pull players up on and will ever hear in the public domain. So I always think when Fergie could see the changing landscape of football, maybe when he retired, he was getting out at the right time, the modern day play, with the social media and I say it's never with United, it's never a slow news week, after the Bournemouth game, drawing 2-2, going actually liking that tweet from, and he's just like, I think we posted something in our group, it was just like, and I went and listened to Ten Hag's press conference. I thought, I just want to hear what he actually said, and he, like he says in the comments, he didn't say Garnacho, digging him out. He said, I saw a problem in the first half. We were getting exploited down that right-hand side alone. Garnacho, that second goal, it was Garnacho that gave away the ball. So he just said, he only trained the day before. So it was like, he needed to change it. So he changed his tactic. Garnacho was the one that had to be bought off. So it was just like, I think I put it in the chat. I think Garnacho liking that tweet it's a bit of a stupid move, but from what I was reading, just about guy, and actually said it kind of wasn't an aim. It wasn't digging at Ten Hag. It's probably more the frustration that he hadn't performed well during that ball. But that first half, he was quiet, so I don't think there's any malice behind it. But I think whoever the manager was, whether it be Ten Hag or someone else, would he have reacted like that? Maybe he's a young player, so it's just he's that age, just it's that maturity. So I just feel like it's something, something that's just it's something other than just everything. Just him just like, just blowing everything out of proportion and just like, yeah, and I just think Garnacho, since November, he started every game for us, and I'm just like, it's going to, at some point, you're going to need a rest as well, so you're not going to be firing on having your best game, you're going to have to need a rest and, recuperate and get going again, so it's just, yeah, with social media and football players, I just remember, I think it was a few years back, someone from United saying about, dealing with the social the media for the players, crafting their stories, their posts, and like, well, I think Gary Neville said, we don't want robots as players, we want them to, I know you said about Mary Earps and just thinking things she's liking the same, but I think that's Mary Earps being her honest self. It's like, well, you'd rather have somebody who's like, I want to be honest about how I'm feeling, or like even from the men's side. So you just, you don't want just robots as players. You just want, like, I think it's not last season.
You're right. You don't. But when you come to that point, though, you want loyalty. I think that's because we are so tribalistic as football fans. That's what we do. Like, everything's Man United. I mean, I can remember. Even back in the I'm gonna have to do it again.
Back in the war.
Even back in the day when they used to have like these legend sevens. Do you remember them? They used to have like 5 or 6 aside. Even then, I used to watch them on Sky Sports going off and playing that on like at some stupid little hall somewhere in Sheffield or something like that, and they'd turn up. And even then, I'd be wanting Manchester United to win as badly as I wanted them to go off and beat Blackburn and win the league, or Leeds and win the league, and because it's Man United and it's tribal, and that's what it is. Doesn't matter what happens. If I see Liverpool doing something, I'm like, no, I don't want them to win. Like, it's irrelevant. People sitting there going, do we want to get 5th for the coefficient? I felt dirty sitting there going, I quite like Man City and Arsenal to win. No, I don't really. The fact that Man City went out made me laugh heavily and brilliantly. And the fact Arsenal followed them as well, excellent. And if Liverpool go out tonight, superb. This makes my day, because that's football. So when we see our players not behaving tribally and being happy to be friendly with other people, like when they're changing shirts, that's what got Keno upset. Why are they changing shirts at half time? Why are they doing it on the pitch at half time? Wait till nobody sees what you're doing in the dressing room. Give whatever you like to them. Give them your boots, give them everything. But why are you doing it on the pitch?
Monday night, the Chelsea game, them squabbling over a penalty. I was like Roy Keane, if he'd been in the studio going, do me a favour, just, there's a designated penalty. It was good, because Conor Gallagher, you just went up, just grabbed the ball and said, Cole Palmer, you're the one taking it, and just was it Madueke and Nicholas Jackson, just like, you two just go away and just separate. And I think, one cover, I think I was trying to say to Nicholas, Jackson, go over and celebrate. Just like, he was just like still annoyed that he couldn't take a penalty. I'm just like, I remember when Van Gaal was in charge, I think he had 5 players that will take the penalties. So the first player, if he missed, then it'd go down to the next player, and if the next player kept on scoring until he missed, it'd go down to the next player. So you had your designated players to take penalties. I'm just like, got to have that structure in place. And I'm just thinking back to social media. I'm just thinking, not last season, the season before, when Ollie left and then ran it, I think, players were putting out posts, when we weren't doing so well. It's like, oh, we're disappointed, we must do better. I'm like, I think we were all getting frustrated because it kept being a weekly occurrence and going, you keep saying it, do it. But I know that we'd like to hear from the players and we want them to be. But in that season, just felt like it was just rinse and repeat. And we was like, oh, we're seeing it on the pitch. And it's like, well, we're not seeing what you're saying you're going to do. So, but like, at least this season, we haven't seen, I haven't seen much of that. So it's like, obviously, players have said we're disappointed. But yeah, it's just, social media and football, and it's changed the landscape.
And you look again at what NC's, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I was fist pumping the air when City got it. Don't be embarrassed.
I did as well, yeah.
You did. So did JJ. So did I. I was stood here listening to it on the radio, and I giggled. I was like, there we go. Brilliant. Superb. Gave it one of them. Excellent. Off we go to bed. Happy days. It was like no dramas. No point. Were you happy, Matt, when they went out? Were you giving it a little fist pump?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. You know what? I didn't even want to go to bed. I had to be up early for work, but I still stayed up and watched, and it wasn't even United. What does that tell you?
Absolutely that.
Yeah.
Although this is an interesting point, one of the best nights the United found this season. I hope we can start celebrating our own success soon too, rather than our rivals' failures. Absolutely. But I did sleep like a baby, to be fair. I've never really understood that as a staying. But like, I mean, slept like a log, get that, understand, doesn't really move. Slept like a baby, they tend to wake up quite a bit, crying quite often until they're fed. So maybe that's what you mean. Maybe that's our little midnight snack. Who knows? But yeah, we've well gone off kilter there. You know, there we were talking about players and their attitudes, and we've ended up talking about hating other clubs. Love it when that happens. Proper good all for United stuff. That right. Last little bit on players and fans came down to the sort of the Casemiro Martial sort of position, which again is ones where they've turned up, had a really good season, but then people seem to have a go at them because of their ability. So, for example, with Casemiro, awesome last season. Everyone was really impressed with how he performed. He was like a giant among men, and we've got him there, and all of a sudden he's done super. And this season, and don't get me wrong, it's clear that he has, digressed. Is that the right word? Regressed in terms of his ability. I get that. But again, people really get that's it now. He's past it. He's got to go. End of. Martial, constantly injured. We know he's highly unlikely to sign a new contract, and that's probably the end of Anthony Martial. I find it really interesting. He's sort of gone down the Pogba route, hasn't he? Of just disappearing for a season and a half and getting paid loads of money, and just constantly being injured, which is a shame. But again, players who seem to sort of divide opinion. And that's why we titled this show Manchester United or Manchester Divided, because I can remember Martial being brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And now it's just like time's run out. Is that kind of where it is, Matt? That we're just in a situation where these players have sort of done their bit, but actually it's just the natural time to move on?
Yeah, I think there does become a point where I think after so many seasons, you do kind of need to move on from certain players. I think when Martial first came, I think the hype around him was something else. I think when was it 50 million and the chance started coming out, I think everyone was loving the fact that we signed him. Came on, made his debut against Liverpool, come on and scored, was it the winner, I believe. Everyone thought he'd kick on from there, and a bit like a lot of players that have left in the past, flops, they used to call them, Di Maria's, Falcao's, never really got going in the United shirt, and that's just kind of how it's ended. It's just sort of just slowly petered out, really. But yeah, he's I think he's definitely gone in the summer. His contract's up anyway, I believe. So yeah, I think his career's done, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm very dry today. Andrew, you're right, Matt, with what you just said. But again, here with this same thing. NT says, the report I saw said with Martial now set to leave at the end of the season, he's now focusing on his recovering. Well, how bloody great for him that he's finally trying to get fit. This is one of those interesting ones, isn't it? Because with Martial, it has been probably less about ability, but he suffered the same sort of fate as Rashford. He was always accused of not trying, didn't run around too much, didn't put the energy in. And as a result, gets injured quite a lot. Now he's not available. Rashford still turns up and turns out week in, week out, to be fair to him, even if he's injured. Whereas Martial stubs his toe, and then that's game over for about 4 weeks while he gets it sorted and iced up. So where do you sort of stand with the Casemiro Martial type of people? Are the fans right? And do the fans jump in a bit too quickly and a bit too harshly sometimes? Is there a better sort of middle ground for these players? With someone like Martial, do we just sit there and go, do you know what, he was a wasted talent, but somebody that just can't get fit? And so therefore, it's a different kettle of fish to say, do you know what, you're not fitting very much. It's probably best if we don't keep you because we need people who've got, the availability of a Bruno, not the availability of you. Not you, Martial, obviously. And then Casemiro with him, same sort of thing. Do you know what? Actually, you've been really good last season, but it's clear that age has caught up with him now, and therefore we need to move on. Is that not the sort of the nicer way to put it, and the way that most people would? Because there's others who are just literally like, yeah, that's it, Casemiro's crap now, get rid of him. And it just seems very harsh sometimes, the discourse around some of these players.
Just thinking on Casemiro, like I said, love Casemiro. I'm thinking what he did in his first season. You know, there's games where he just, you know, he was like the conductor orchestrating, you know, every, you know, the move, getting us on the attack. I was just thinking, yeah, scored in the League Cup final as well to get, you know, set us up on the way to winning that as well. So the games he played in, 'cause I think when he first arrived, the first couple of weeks, I think he did struggle a little bit, and I'm just like, just into the pace of, you know, the Premier League. Whereas this season, I think he's had slight injuries that have, you know, just curtailed his rhythm, and it's just like he's not been quite the same player we've seen in his first season with us. And I'm just thinking the game against Liverpool, the one in the league, and I'm just like, there's points where he was trying to get back, and it was like those Liverpool players, well, they're quick anyway, but they were just bypassing them. We're just like, and I was like thinking, Ten Hag, please bring him off because we need some more assurance in the midfield. But Ten Hag decided not to. That was one thing that annoyed me a little bit about that game. One, the penalty, and two, I felt like Casemiro should have been the one substituting. Nothing against Casemiro, I just felt like just change tactic a little bit. So, but yeah, I can't say Casemiro has been a good player for us. But so whether he stays beyond this, because I think when he signed, I can't remember, was it a 3-year deal or a longer deal than that? So, but I don't know whether he'll stay beyond the end of this season. I don't know. So it's see who comes in the summer. Anthony Martial. Well, it's going to be, when we look back, a legacy of frustration and lost potential. You know, I mean, when he first arrived, everybody went, "How much have you paid for him?" And you know, some could argue, has Martial outstayed his welcome? You know, so you know, he's had fleeting moments. You know, I think he's been there now. He's 11 years now. I'm sure it was 20, 13, 14.
Play with Martial, so much of it seemed to be just like.
No, it's 2015 actually. So he's been nearly there 10 years now. So, and when we first signed him, everybody said, well, we believe you'll get in the next Thierry Henry, but you know,
but again, the stuff that's pushed towards him was like, he doesn't smile, he doesn't run, you know, and it's like, have we hit a point? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I mean, I will never. My heart broke when he actually apologised in an interview for smiling, because that had been the discussion that had been going on. He smiles too much, and we're taking people and their personality traits and then using that to beat them. And that's got nothing to do with his football. The fact that he might have a bit of a miserable face, you know, I mean, you just sort of call that, you know, resting git face, wouldn't you?
I just think a lot. You see the difference between Højlund and Martial. It's just like Højlund will go and press. He'll press anything down. Whether he'll chase a lost cause. Where Martial, you don't see that, or you just see him start. Sometimes he'll do it. I mean, was it last season during pre-season? I think the game against Liverpool, Martial was pressing like no tomorrow. I was like, who is this Martial? And Erik ten Hag seems to be doing something right with him. I was like, and then Martial reverted to type, and I was like, well, not quite pressing as much. And I mean, yeah, Martial was signed by Van Gaal, and he's played under 5 managers since, but you could say none of them have had truly happy memories of it. Happy memories of him, you know. I'd say he's had the talent, Martial, to succeed, and he's proved himself on more than a few occasions. He scored 90-odd goals for us, and you know, in over 300 appearances as well. So he has done a bit for United, but it just felt like you can almost feel when he does leave, you know, he's be characterised by flashes of brilliance rather than consistent spells. He seems to have one good season, then he go missing for a good few. I'm thinking the only time I can think he had a real good season was with Ollie, and that was during the COVID season. I think he had, was it 20 plus 25 goals. Him and Rashford were just like on fire. So, and you say in the last 3 seasons, he's been unable to complete a whole 90 minutes. So, and he's displayed, you know, just made him a figure of derision amongst fans and pundits alike. So, say he arrived at the club as a great hope, but is he going to go down as, you know, was one of the symbols of the club's decline since, you know, Fergie retired as well. So, yeah, I say he was only an unexpected signing when he first came, but as Matt said, when he first arrived, the debut against Liverpool, I remember when he scored, and then Martin Tyler saying, "Welcome to Manchester and Manchester United, Anthony Martial." We thought, oh, maybe we have got someone here. But in subsequent years, you know, Mourinho came in, he fell out with him after Zlatan came in as well, so he felt pushed out. Then we had Alexis Sanchez come in as well, so, you know, pushed out even more. So, but I think, yeah, Van Gaal got some good things out of him. So did Ollie as well. So just in the last few years, the injury problems just piled up. And there's been like niggling little injuries, and you know, I think he revealed during the 2020-21 season he continued to play while injured. So just like, I don't know whether he's one of those players that has to be perfectly 100% to, you know, play. It might have been like Daniel Sturridge at Liverpool. He said, "Oh, that was like." Some players have those niggling injuries, but still play through the pain. So when he does move on, it'll be interesting to see which club picks him up, whether he goes back to France or somewhere else. It's one of those with Martial, just like, as I said, legacy of frustration and lost potential. You know, when we first signed him, there's a clause in there: if he won the Ballon d'Or, we've got to pay Monaco even more money. So, well, that ain't going to be happening. So, but yeah, it's not now. But let's say it's getting fit at the moment, so he moves on in the summer. So yeah, I wish him well. So, but yeah,
you can forget the Ballon d'Or. You might get the cart door. That'd be about it. Which is a nice bit of ice cream. That we had some interesting things. John has absolutely blown my mind here with a double negative that he's going to have a go at me in a minute for bringing it up because I know what he means, but it's John Commode, so I've got to do it. I personally don't think Casemiro and Martial cannot cope with pace and intensity of the Premier League anymore. Their legs are gone. So you think they can cope with the pace and intensity of the Premier League, but their legs are gone. I don't know. Do you need to rewrite it? Probably. But there we go. That's John Commode. He'll appreciate that. And NT agree. I totally agree with this. I do have some sympathy for Martial. We've seen players like Sahar, Hargreaves really struggle to stay fit. But it feels with Martial that his heart's already been in it. Conjecture maybe. And then finishing that off with, I look at Martial's head dropping when Mourinho took his number off him and not dealing well when there was that competition for his place. He excelled the most when he was the main man. And is that sort of...
Just on that comment there, because he's saying he took the number off, because he used to play with number 9, and he had the brand AM9, didn't he, when Zlatan came in? Well, Zlatan wanted number 9, so are you really going to say no to... Well, Mourinho going to say no to Zlatan. Martial's going to have number 9 now. So, but he got it back afterwards. But I think it didn't start well under Mourinho after, you know, the shirt being given. But you're playing for Manchester United. I think with Wayne Rooney, like he would say, he'd play all over the pitch. He'd play in goal. He wouldn't care what number he was playing, what position he played. He'd just give it all. So, just, you know, you're playing for the biggest club in the world. So, who cares what number you're wearing, as long as you're out there playing. And to say football can be a very short career or it can be a very long career, so make the most of it.
I think attitude is one of his biggest problems as well, to be honest. I think that's his main issue. Like the fact that you're whinging over and the change of squad numbers, to me, is pathetic. It's like you play for the biggest club in the world. You should appreciate the fact that you play at the biggest club in the world. If it was me, giving me the chance, I'd play with no number on my back. It makes no difference to me. The fact that you get to play should be all that matters. I don't get it. I don't get what
I was going to say about that, Mallow, to you on this one is that people do get very superstitious about the sort of numbers that they have on their back. And
I get that.
It's maybe not even just superstitious, but maybe, you know, it becomes a bit of a thing. You know, I can remember again. Sorry. Reading with Match magazine and Shoot magazine and all that sort of stuff when I was younger, when you read the interviews, they'd always talk about what superstitions do you have when you're in the dressing room. There'd be some people who would be like, well, I always put my right sock on before I put my left sock on. If I ever do it the other way, I'd get really panicky. And footballers are very superstitious animals, aren't they, Matt? So is there an element here of actually you sort of get inside somebody's head. You know, they get that. We had a player at Stevenage. She wears number 19 for us all the time. And one time that somebody else had wore the number 19 and hadn't put it back in the bag, and she didn't have it, the look on her face, she was properly like, where's my number 19? And you could see it playing around in her head, because that's just normality. You turn up, this is your game, there's my shirt, I know it's mine because it's got the number 19.
Routine.
It's not there, your routine's knocked a bit, and then that knocks you off a bit. So is there a bit, again, of a game? We're having a go at these players because for us it wouldn't matter, but for them it is a big thing. So actually, just even a little thing like that could knock them a little bit off kilter. It shouldn't, but it does.
No, yeah, I can see it from that point of view. I think it's like was it Anana had like a really random number that he came with for a goalkeeper, and everyone was like, why is he? Was it number? I can't remember. Was it like number 40 something or something or other like that? And everyone was debating why has he picked this number? And but that's, I think, a number he was playing with at Inter or the previous club before that. Was it Ajax maybe? So I can see it from that point of view in terms of superstitions, but again, it shouldn't really be an excuse for how you perform. To me, attitude's first and foremost before a shirt number, but that's just me.
No, I agree with you in the main there. And NT saying, true, Andrew, that's probably another problem you've highlighted that we probably don't have time to go into. Having your brand be anywhere near as important as your football is not right, in my opinion. And I think all I really need to do to give you my idea on that is to just go.
Jesse, I was thinking on
See? And you knew immediately.
Yeah, Jesse Lingard. No, I'm just saying on superstitions when Paul Ince, well, he did it at every club, but when he played for us, he'd never put on his shirt until he was walking down the tunnel. He'd never have it. All the other players would have theirs on, but he'd always put his on when he's walking down the tunnel. So that was his superstition. He never wore his match shirt until he got out there.
No, absolutely. Was a throwback, wasn't it? I thought you'd enjoy that one. And Dan, with a fair point here, he says another point of view is that when you take his shirt number to give to Zlatan, you've told him he isn't your main man. And I mean, there's a lot of people that would argue, well, if Zlatan's come in, you're going to have that. But again, fair point. You know, when you're turning around and someone's been the main man, and now actually I've replaced you.
I was going to say, is anybody going to tell Zlatan Ibrahimovic no? I don't think so.
But then this is it. This is the whole point. Why would... This is how people, you look at a Ronaldo, how he came in and how that sort of had a bit of an effect on the dressing room. Yeah. It does change things. You have a pecking order, and it doesn't mean you've got to change the pecking order, but you've got to change how you make that person feel. And I can't imagine Alex Ferguson, when he was managing, if he was in a situation where he brought in somebody big, I can't imagine that he ever let anybody else feel like they wouldn't be useful. Like the conversations that have been had around when players can play, and the fact that he would always sit down, have a conversation with them, talk about, I'm not going to need you for this game, you won't be playing for this one, I'm going to need you to be ready for the week after because that's the game you're going to be playing in. So you've gone, all right, you're not playing this week, but guess what? 2 weeks time, I really need you. So that's what you need to aim for. Get yourself training, plan for it. This is the game we've got. Go and watch your videos, do whatever it is you need to do to be ready for this game. And that's how he manages. So, yes, of course, Zlatan's going to come in and be the big man. But then that's all about you talking to Martial and having the decency of a manager to sort of say to him, look, we're bringing him in because, hello, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, you know, that's 25 goals just there. But we're going to need you as well because we can't win it just with his goals. You know, you're going to need to be there to pick up the bits and pieces he misses, to get the ball into the box. Whatever the job is you've got for Martial, has that really happened? You know, yes, we've had to give him the shirt, but is it really that important or whatever? Is there something else we can do? You know, I don't know if those conversations have been had. And I just, you know.
I think there would have been. And also, I think, like in Zlatan, when he came to us, I'm just thinking, a player like that, not since, I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for, not since Eric Cantona, you know, somebody with that big player. I'm walking in, I'm Zlatan, like Eric walks in, this is my stage, you know, I'm going to show you what I can do as well. So I think with Zlatan as well, probably would have spoken much. But I was also, going back here, I was thinking another play, I sort of kept in check a little bit, was Paul Pogba as well. Zlatan kept him a lot in check. Yeah. And I just think when Zlatan left, you know, that's, you know, leadership in the air, you know, it sort of left the dressing room. So I just think Zlatan brought, that big presence. That's what I was trying to think of, like with Eric. Eric was like the final piece in the jigsaw, where Zlatan wasn't going to be the final piece in the jigsaw. But it's like that's a big player like that since Eric. So, but yeah, I'm sure there's conversation. He would have been a leader in that.
Again, look at how the game's moved on. Because with Eric, people would come in and see what he was doing. Yes, he was an absolute maverick and a bit of a renegade with the way that he behaves. But the people that are around him, these weren't soft people that we're talking about. You're looking at your Brian Robsons, your Steve Bruces, your Gary Pallisters, your Roy Keanes. And I'll never forget, the one where he was sent off at Selhurst Park. Lee Sharp tells the superb story of that one. He's going to get it. Doesn't matter that we're not doing well here. He's just gone and kicked a fan. That's it. He is going to be absolutely roasted. This is going to be hilarious. The heat's off us. We can all sit in there, feet up. And he goes at every single person. Gary, you've been absolutely atrocious. Roy, you should have done this. Sharpie, what's going on here? And he shouts at every single one of them and then just goes, Eric, you can't go around doing that, son. And that's it. And everyone's like, what the hell? Why is he not arguing at him? But they also knew, last person out in training, always working hard. They saw his ability. And it was the same with Ronaldo first time round. Phil Neville talks about how, he only actually trained for an hour. All the rest of it, the muscle work, the massages, the taking a ball and doing the tricks all the way around Carrington, 3 kilometres around the edge with the ball. People see this work and then they go, that's fair enough. Were people like Anthony Martial, not Anthony Martial, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, was he doing that? Or was he just coming in, puffed out chest, I am Zlatan, I'll turn up and score you a goal, but actually during the day, am I just walking around like I'm some sort of god? And, that's when it ruffles feathers, isn't it? And was Ronaldo like that the second time around? Was he working as hard or was he just expecting other people to do that? These are the things we don't see. But I don't know, what do you reckon, Matt? Because for me, I really massively find this interesting, seeing how these players with such big personalities can come in, they ruin these sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I think sometimes, I think Dan's right. I feel sorry for Martial. I really do.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the standards at the club as well, to be honest. I think ever since Ferguson's left, the standards just haven't been quite the same. They've not felt the same anyway, from where I've been sitting. I think, obviously, it started off when Moyes came in. Obviously, he got rid of a lot of the post-fight Ferguson players, like Vidic ended up leaving. I think it was Evra that left as well. And it all sort of stemmed from there. And then he started bringing all these players in there for a season, if that. Then they were offloading players. I think standards is quite a big issue now, to be honest with you, I think, at the club. And I think that's what it's stemming down to now. I think players are bringing these big stars. Like Ronaldo is a prime example. I think everyone was delighted to see Ronaldo back just because it's Ronaldo. But personally, I don't think it was ever going to work having Ronaldo back for a second time. I think that was quite obvious. He came in, scored, some crucial goals. Just didn't have the players around him. For me, it's like, it's a tricky one. You put Ronaldo into City's team, he'll probably thrive. In that United team, he was doing it all on his own. Let's be honest, it was never going to work.
Yeah, no, I think you are right. Listen, lovely to see you as well down there. Schweinsteiger interview is interesting. I've not seen this one, so clearly something's been said. Have you seen it, Andrew?
I've seen bits of it. I haven't watched all of it yet, but it's interesting to see, talking about his time under Mourinho, because Van Gaal was the one signing him, and then Mourinho took over, and I just felt, I don't know why Mourinho didn't use him more. I just remember a game I was at against West Ham in the League Cup, which we won 4-1. I think, with 3-1 up, and then he bought Schweinsteiger, and it was just the biggest cheer throughout Old Trafford when he came on, and he set up he started the move that set up the fourth goal as well. And I remember being there for his last goal, which was against Wigan in the FA Cup, and just remember his celebrations, like swinging a tennis racket, because he's married to the former tennis player Anna Ivanovic. So it was like, I just felt like he should have been used a lot more, but Schweinsteiger. So, and I say he was the very first German player to play for Manchester United as well. So that was something special in itself. So, but Schweinsteiger just felt never quite got to see the best of him at United.
Wow. Well, I think it's time for me to resign. So Connor's jumping in here with Barry's basically the Zlatan of AFU, and fair play to NT. He says you're going to need a little bit more context. You'll probably just get yourself into trouble. Oh, look at that. Straight in with this one. Turns up, chest out, acting like God. I thought, well, someone's got to, Connor. It's a miracle. Like, to be honest, the amount of work we need for you is quite something, Connor. But there we go. He does come up with a sensible point. The Bastion interview was very telling what it was like under Jose, banned him from the dressing room. It's like, it's really interesting. Twilumba straight in with the positive vibes. Love that. We're a horribly run club. This is definitely a you conversation, Twilumba, for sure. And Dan saying, so many Dans. Gary Neville said the way they treated him wasn't allowed and he could have sued him. And again, it comes down to people like Mourinho and the way that these people choose to act. It's a real balancing act. We forget that people are human. You've only just had this Vinnie Jones thing, where he's popped out talking about men talking to each other. And this is just one of the things. We don't treat people sometimes like they're humans. And then we wonder why it is that they get a little bit upset or they get a little bit angry. And I think we've just hit a point in football where people are still just expecting footballers to behave in the manner that they used to behave 30, 40 years ago. And it's not 30, 40 years ago. The world has changed. And we are in a situation where you should feel like you're able to talk about how you're feeling, your emotions and all those sorts of things. And it doesn't necessarily mean that means you're going to get treated differently or any of those sorts of things, but you should feel comfortable to be able to do the right things. And as our Dan says, not the Everton Dan, Jose didn't even speak to him. He made Murta do it. It's quite a thing. So Twilumba, Bastion is class, humbleness and maturity in one. It's interesting. It really is. And fair play, because we've gone on for an hour and this was only the first bit really that we wanted to talk about. But I'm pleased because I think this was a conversation that actually is a good one to have, and one whereby we've looked at some bad apples, dead wood, as people have been calling them, amongst the club. But it's also very interesting seeing how we've chosen to talk about them here in the chat and the people around them. Bastian Schweinsteiger is another good example there that's been brought up. So cheers for that one, Dan, because it just goes to show it's not acceptable. It's not right that people should be treated quite so badly. We talk about just throw them in the reserves, and it's like, well, yeah, there is that, but there is also an element of you've got to look after them as human beings. We're sitting here talking about banning heading a couple of weeks ago because potentially they're going to get Alzheimer's, but we're not too interested in talking about how we treat human beings and how they're feeling when they get home and they shut the doors. It's very interesting. So speaking about whether people should go home and shut the doors, Ten Hag. I wanted to move on to him slightly with regards to Ineos as well. And the question is a very simple one. It's only going to be a one question go round on this. But where do you stand with the whole Ten Hag and Ineos situation? Should Ineos, or what do Ineos need to do in order to ensure the success and the progression of Manchester United? So looking at next season, do we start with Ten Hag? Does he deserve to have a season under the new structure and under the new regime to be having a go and to see what he can achieve with proper success, with proper structure, and with hopefully an injury list that is not quite as mad as it is at the moment? Does he deserve that opportunity, especially based on his first season? And as a result of that, if not, how does that look? Because we've been doing rebuild after rebuild after rebuild, roughly every 2 years, 2 to 3 years, for the last 10, 12, 13 years. We can't keep doing that, surely. So, Matt, what do you reckon on that one?
Personally, I'd probably edge towards maybe giving him another season. Maybe controversial. Probably a lot of people probably do disagree. But yeah, I'd personally give him another season. You've got to think, obviously, last season, he done with the team he had, he done really, really well. First season, won as a trophy. Yeah, it was the Carabao Cup, but still silverware. Got us back into the Champions League. Didn't do very well in that. But again, I think it's been an up and down season, I'd say. I think injuries has played a massive part. What that's down to, all the injuries, who really knows? Is that fit? Is it what they do in training? Is it the fitness staff? Is something drastically got to change on that regard? So I think that's not helped. It's not the consistent back four, I don't think, for large part of the season. Playing players out of position. It's a tricky one. Personally, I'd give them another season. Obviously, they try to bring in new, I think, is it Dan Ashworth being mentioned? Obviously, Barada's coming in from City. So I think the changes are encouraging. Bringing more football-based people in above the manager, I think will help quite a lot. But yeah, personally, I'd sway towards giving maybe at least another season under a better structure, see who they bring in the summer, and go from there, and just hope we don't have half as many injuries next season as we have this, and hopefully we can have a better season with a better luck.
Nice one. Seems perfectly fair. Andrew, same question to you.
Yeah, I think I've said it on shows before. Say, I wanted him at United, and I feel like he needs that chance, under the new structure that is coming in now. And say, ever since Ten Hag walked in, in the summer of 2022, he's had a lot to deal with, on the field and off the field as well. The structure of the ownership, the Glazers, spending over a year deciding what to do with the club, this strategic review, and then ultimately ended with Radcliffe, buying the minority stake as well. So the Glazers have been an unpopular owner since 2005. So Ten Hag's had to build a team around constant protests and disharmony. So like I say, when he came in, he had to sanction the exit of Ronaldo, and plus other dealing with Jadon Sancho issue as well this season with the injuries that we've had. So it's just but let's say whether he's got all the transfer targets he's wanted, I don't know. But I think one of the key things for Ten Hag has been, and why probably one of the reasons he was appointed was his record in putting faith in the younger players. As you can see with Mayhem, Garnacho, even signing Hoyland, even though he didn't come through the academy with us, he come through another team. But building, bringing through the younger players. So results on the pitch this season. I've not done his job any favours, but he's been working in a tough environment with Radcliffe coming in now. He's more focus is going to be given on the football side as well. So Ten Hag will be given the opportunity to spend more time what he should be doing, building a team capable, being challengers for major trophies again. So yes, we're not going to get Champions League this season, for next season. So yeah, it's a bit of a blow, but we'll regroup and if he was to go, United have to fork out to dismiss him out of his last year's contract, which is about 15 million. And I'm just thinking, situation with FFP as well. We can't keep going this merry-go-round of which it seems to be every 3 years. United get rid of a manager. I think Gary Neville said it. Was it last week? He says he's liking it 10 hours time. He's like other managers, their time coming to him, like Mourinho, Van Gaal, Solskjaer. I remember at the end of Solskjaer's time, I was just like those players have thrown him under the bus. I was there at that last game, and I just thought, for your own mind and sanity, I don't want you to go, but you've got to. But as I say, with Radcliffe coming in now, he's made it clear he doesn't want no financial waste that it's held United back in recent years. So we've got to be smart in the transfer market. Buying the right players for the right fees, and giving Ten Hag, being a coach, coaching the players, and hopefully not having as many injuries, like in that first season, having good performances, and starting winning more trophies as well. So, but yeah, let's say I've always backed Ten Hag, from the start. So let's say I hope he's still there at the start of next season. Let's see what he can do. So it's going to be a big summer, for big changes at United. So let's see what the next 12 months bring at United.
You got to think who's out there as well. Like say, if they were to sack him, who's out there?
and with our rivals Liverpool, it's like, yes, Alonso said no, and I think that's right for Alonso. You know, stay by it by Leverkusen. The rumours it's Amarin that's the favourite, but there could be some other name that comes at Liverpool we've not thought about. But as I say, they're looking who's the man to succeed Jurgen Klopp as well. So it's just like it'll be interesting to see.
Absolute scenes if actually after all this, Jurgen Klopp comes in and replaces Ten Hag.
No,
I
don't
want that.
Well, we could have had Jurgen Klopp, but Edward Wood described us as Disneyland, apparently. So,
good old Edward Wood.
So that's the way it was portrayed as. We could have had Jurgen Klopp, but he went to our rivals, and like I say, well, he leaves his own legacy behind when he leaves the Premier League. And he will be missed as well. So having that battle on the field and off the field with him. So I remember one time he actually defended United. I think start of last season when we lost to Brentford, and Gabby Abolahor on TalkSport giving really having a go. And Jurgen Klopp, I think because we were playing Liverpool the next game, he said I was tempted to phone in and say I'm going to defend United. I almost want to say we don't need defending from you; we can defend ourselves. But I thought, well, he's showing that a bit of respect to us. It was like, but yeah, it's one manager that probably we miss. But interested to see what our rivals are doing. So it's going to be a lot of big changes in the Premier League. So we're just going to be making sure we get ahead of. We're not falling behind, getting ahead of everybody else. We're the ones leading the way.
It remains to be asked what happens with City as well. That's another big thing.
Charges.
That's still to come. Yeah, is anything going to happen there? Will that affect Guardiola? No, I'm not saying Guardiola to United, by the way. If anyone's, I'm just saying how that'll impact them as a club. It's one of them.
Guardiola, Mourinho at that time. Whoever, both Manchester clubs, whoever got one would get the others. And I know Fergie had spoken to Guardiola on his sabbatical when he left. Left Bayern.
There's been some interesting names thrown in there. Southgate, obviously one of them. Unai Emery was one of the latest ones I heard that was very interesting. But anyway, Dan's put in his biggest flip-flop yet. Yes, he can stay unless we lose on Sunday, in which case he's got to go. Other Dan, Everton Dan, has come on and said, we think Rashford needs to move for the good of you and him. We did speak about that towards the beginning of the show. The general gist of it being he probably does in some respects, and it depends on the fans, really, which ones you talk to. Personally, for me, I know that he's quality and he's got that class. We just need to find a way for him to be able to show that. NT said at least you wait until the end of the game. Some people change their mind 3 or 4 times during the match. Very true. I love this little exchange. Randon's come in and said, hello, Falfro podcast. Any chance you can tell us, did they talk about Bastion yet? Yes, about 7 minutes ago. And then rewind. I love this idea that we're going to rewind. I know you can rewind live telly, but with this, like rewind was something you did back in the war, effectively. And of course, because we were talking about Bastian Schweinsteiger and the fact that he was basically banished, the minute I saw this, I thought of the Craig David song, I think it is, or the Artful Dodger. And then I came in with rewind when the crowd says no, selector, because there's no selection. But there we go. I couldn't help myself, had to put it out there. So thanks. To a Lumber, really not happy with Ineos here. Not entirely sure what Ineos have done wrong. But there we go. That is what he thinks. MT agreed with, or mentioned to Dan, footballers can sometimes be as fickle as fans, so he wouldn't be surprised if he hit the ground and stayed running. Kind of suggesting that perhaps Mark Skinner could come and manage us. No, don't. This is the funniest you've been in the 2 years that I've known you, mate. Crack on. This is quite entertaining. I was going
to say, it's funny how both the women's and men's seasons have sort of mirrored each other, in terms of performances, results, and we're both
good
still
runs.
And good cup runs. We're both still in the FA Cup, so it could be both men's and women's winning the FA Cup, or potentially. Well, we've got to get past commentary first on Sunday, but potentially.
Don't that, mate.
Let's see what Sunday brings.
Maybe he needs better players around him. Maybe so. Twillen basically saying they're just PR merchants and what they've done for Nice FC. I don't really care what they've done for Nice FC. To be completely honest with you, I only care what they do for us. Barry and Connie had to stop. I was having a lovely time so far on this stream, and now we're discussing Klopp and Skinner taking over. No, is the answer to that. I shan't stop. But yeah, Klopp, Man U would be so weird, but we wind Liverpool up, so I probably like it. Yeah, you're not wrong. It would make me giggle. When you consider how he walked off when we were giving it the old Jurgen's cracking up and he's putting his ear to it. Oh, that'd be quite a thing, actually. I'd giggle. I think it'd be great. Where are we aiming to finish next season? Higher than this season. I think it's going to have to be the answer to that. I had one last question for you both, so I'm going to throw that out there before we finish. And it was simply this. Jim Ratcliffe rings you up and he says, Andrew, Matt, I need you to tell me the 2 positions or the 2 players that I absolutely need to go out there and purchase for next season to try and make this team a little bit better. We can only get 2. Which 2 positions do you go, do you know what? This is the one that we're absolutely going to need. That's going to help us to, as Dan asks, finish higher than we are looking to finish this season. Matt, we'll go with you first. What do you reckon?
Names wise, I won't like to say. Obviously, that's not my specialty. I'll leave that to the United.
Don't have to know names.
Positions, I'd probably say defence is probably a massive position. I think that needs strengthening. Probably right across the defence, really. I think from fullback right across to the other side. I think we've got too many players injury. Shaw, there'd probably a couple of departures. Lindelof, Maguire, probably a departure there out of them too. So I'd say definitely defence and a midfield. Midfield's going to be a massive one because is Casemiro going to be there next season? Maybe another holding midfielder that's got the legs. So I think defence and maybe a central defence, like a holding midfield, is quite probably the 2 key positions, I'd say, personally.
Fair enough. The boss has come in with central defensive midfielder, CDM, and a fullback. Randon has obviously come back to the present time now, and he's gone centre back and CDM. Ardan has gone for a centre midfielder and a striker, and he's specifically gone for Polina and Kane. NT reckons 2 positions, no, 2 players per position, maybe. So that's like the whole squad, the rate he's going at. Love this one. He's gone for Tony Branthwaite, and what I love about that is that just sounds like one person, doesn't it? I call Tony Branthwaite. It's not the actual Branthwaite, it's his mate. But yeah, Ivan, Tony, and Branthwaite would be 2 very good ones. But as he says, I've told you, you're not having Branthwaite. It's all right. We'll wave a couple of quid in a Mars bar under their noses, and they'll sing you in. But yeah, very good. They would be like again, fullback there and a striker, obviously there from Dan. What do you reckon, Andrew? Where's the 2 positions we need to strengthen?
I think I'm going to go, well, one what Eric Ten Hag said last week, saying it would help with the club signing another striker in the summer. I mean, with Martial set to go, at the end of the season, leaves, Højlund is the only number 9 in Ten Hag's squad. So it would help, another striker, Marcus Rashford sometimes being used as central striker. Even Bruno has been used as a false 9 at times. So it would help if we get another striker. I don't know, I'm saying a striker with more experience as well, just to help Højlund as well, because, yes, his goals will be valuable, but we need somebody, it's going to help him develop as a player too as well. And the other position, probably the defence. I can see a few defenders, going in the summer, so we'll need to replenish in that and in the United defence as well. So, but there's an arguable case for the midfield as well, but another striker, and in the defence too for me.
Fair points all round. Even I can sometimes not unmute myself. There you go. It didn't look like I was unmuted, and then it went, nah, not having it. Randon so needs to promote from the under 18s. The number of people that keep saying we just need to bring up the youth as if they are 100% going to be the answer, but there are some very good ones. I will give you that. Crikey, a keeper, a left back, a centre back, a CDM, a winger, a striker would sort you out.
Is that a whole new team then?
I mean, it is pretty much a whole new team. Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much. Listen, we know it's work. It's definitely going to be work. That is for sure. Yeah, just a very interesting. Again, like just going back very quickly to what Randon says there about the under 18. It's just interesting because Johnny Evans was obviously a youth graduate, and he was eventually hounded out of the club, but nobody particularly cared. Scott McTominay is a graduate, but everyone just has a go at him. It's very interesting. We keep saying, let's bring these people, Marcus Rashford, and he was one of the ones that you've just spoken about. So we get these people, we do this very British thing of building them up, and then we just take the legs out from underneath them and have a little go at them. It's, very interesting. And what's this now? Mainu, Garnacho, Anana, Mount, Rasmus, Bruno, Cambuala, Martinez. The rest are touch and go for me. So basically, they're the ones you would keep. Everybody else, tough luck. Well, there we are. That has pretty much covered our little show tonight. It's been an hour and 20. That's got to be about enough. I'm going to ask you though, Matt, have you enjoyed your first show? You enjoyed being with us?
Absolutely. Loved it. Always love giving me opinions on United. It's always great. Always great to get them out there. So, yeah, thanks for having me again. And hopefully I'll be on again at some point.
No, thanks for joining us. I'm sure we will look to get you back on in the near future. Listen, if you were here last time, you would have noticed there was a bit of a post show, and I'm already doing the plan for what's going to happen because I already know that when I click end stream, it's not going to end. I'm positive of it. I know this because there seems to be an issue. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if it's happened since Connor broke the internet and the women's show couldn't go onto StreamYard and onto YouTube. I think ever since then, there's been a drama. And I know when I push that button, there's now an issue with my internet. And there's not because I'm on the internet. I know I'm on the internet because I'm talking to you and you're responding to me. So, but my computer doesn't seem to know that. It's sitting there going, no, you're not on the internet. It's a lie, Barry. So when I push that button, it's going to go, I can't tell StreamYard. So I've already worked out how I'm going to try and do it, but it could go wrong. So yeah, by all means, stay behind and see whether or not you can catch me out this time. We shall see. Much love there to you, Dan. Thank you. And again, do make sure you check out the Toppy Bluecast if you're interested in all things Everton, because he has a good little show going on over there too. And last but not least, Shay Lacey got his first contract the other day. We hope we get a cameo from him. Post show is the best thing you've seen on YouTube in 2024. Well, there we go. We shall see. It's been very interesting to see how the post show goes today. But it has been a pleasure. Do follow these guys on their Twitter @. Make sure that you are back with us tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we are previewing Coventry in our ridiculously good FA Cup match. Can we make it to the final? Can we match what the women have done and make it to there? That's my hope. That's your hope. It's the thing we've all got to hope for. So come back Friday. Dan will be back tomorrow. That's the top news that we've got there. He's finally going to come in and do a bit of work, which is lovely. So he's back in tomorrow. We've also got him back on Sunday where he'll be running the show because I can't guarantee I'm going to be back from Wroxham. And we'll be looking at how the match against Coventry goes. So good luck. Cheers again, Matt. Thank you very much, Andrew. And now, can I do what I need to do on my phone quick enough that we don't get caught in a post show? I'll see you all in about 7 seconds, probably. Night all.